one of the big things for I know a lot of people want to know is how to get onto some of these teams, right? Is there like tryouts, recruiting periods, as far as is there anything that like you're scouting out for other new potential talent for recruiting for the team? Is there anything you guys can give insight on how you guys go through that process?
Anyone
Well,
want to take this one?
I'll take this one.
All
So
right.
generally, I think it depends scene by scene as well, but for NA at least, we mostly do tryouts. But scouting a new player is mostly what they can do in the top major tournament. Circuit is definitely what we look at when looking for the top players. And me specifically, what I do for the team is I create a data sheet. I have a data sheet. I'm unlike a lot of managers.
Ooh,
I
you got
keep
all the
track of
good stats and everything, don't you?
statistics. I got all the statistics for the team, and I can tell the team captain who's underperforming, who's overperforming, who we should keep, who we should drop, and who we could pick up from another team.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a lot of really good data that you keep up with. Which, by all
Mm-hmm.
means, as a manager as a whole, as far as a title is concerned, that's honestly pretty right on par what you would expect, kind of in a real life scenario. A 9 to 5 or regular job. They can check how fast you're doing stuff. There's either some kind of performance metric or something that then you would have a conversation or have to work on with a manager. At like a real job.
Yeah, and it's also about how the way I feel the players mesh with each other. And I feel like usually friendships are a plus.
Mm-hmm.
Like of course, I mean it's pretty obvious the players are more likely to be loyal. If their friends are on that team. But then of course there are these sort of like national teams, so to say, where it's like the Finnish players, they make Tuho like 3 to 4 times a year. You can expect that. A lot of Turkish players, for example, when G9 was mostly
Yeah,
Turkish.
I was about to say.
Yeah, Romanian teams. There's a Romanian team now, so yeah. And of course it's easier communication, very important in-game communication. So yeah, just the variables, and I feel like the little details that make the difference. I feel it's always important to think about. Okay, this player is with me now. He trusts me now for, I don't know, let's say this community tournament. But would he trust me for circuit? It's about knowing your players as well, I guess. Loyalty is definitely like a factor and attribute I'd look for in a player, like especially nowadays.
Yeah, so where you're making sure that they're going to be here. They're going to stay with the team. There's
Right.
obviously people can jump ship. They can go to a new team, depending on what kind of, if any, contracts are signed. And it's just that it's that being able to move around, and you got to have a place where they feel safe at home, good communication, all of it combined together to really create a good place. With that, and so when you're looking at people for those, I'm assuming you're taking in not only their play style, because everybody has different positions within the team, their play style, but also who they are kind of outside the matches, I would assume, too, kind of their communication.
Right.
Are they
Yeah.
toxic or not?
Yeah,
Of
that's
course.
important.
Of course.
Of course, that's really important. But yeah, Gazar mostly took out words of my mouth. Like, we already discussed this like yesterday. I got nothing to add to this. You basically said it all.
Yeah, overall, chemistry is incredibly important between the teams. Like, if you take
Yeah.
a small loss and people on your team want to leave to go to the people who just beat you, that's a major issue and a major moral issue as well. It just kind of destroys the team there. So we got to pick loyal players who have good relationships within the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and I know that's probably really, really hard to really take that in consideration. To where, like, say there's a player that's coming out as a free agent that you might want to grab, but just because they're good doesn't mean they're going to get a guaranteed spot. Just because, again, all the things that have to go into place to where they're going to be a good fit. Because if
It
just
has
they're
to be a
good,
perfect fit.
yeah, because just because they're good
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're going to be a good fit for your team. To where it could cause problems in game. They could be kind of trash talking their own teammates. They've got to be able to have that cool level head and not pick on anyone at any given time.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at all the teams that did really well in Worlds this year, They were all teams that have had that were comprised of players that had a history playing each other. Rain won it all, and I have to like shout out Rain here. Faultless, Venely, they have a lot of players that have been together, playing together with the same team name for 3 years. It's crazy to me. Evil Vision, second place as well. They have a team identity. Even Crossfire finished third place. Incredible. No one thought about it, right? But they were all Turkish. They had a team identity. They played with each other for a while. Same with Xenocide, number 4. It's not really difficult to tell what separates a great team from a good one.
Yeah, I think that's honestly perfect. I mean, because these players, they play together for quite a while, and the longer they play together, the better that they can, keep it up. They know what, they don't even have to look behind them. They know who's going where on the map and everything. So it makes it a whole lot easier on the players themselves without having to actually make a plan, because they know what everybody else is capable of and what they're going to do, and it'll just follow naturally as they move through the game and what things come into place. And of course, there's the in-game leader to kind of keep that symmetry and that level-headedness, to where the players obviously, they got adrenaline rushing, they've got all their emotions and what's happening, and the in-game leader can, help keep that on track, but that still keeps everybody, you can always rely on that person, and that's that trust that they can build.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, this is going to be a really hard thing. I know it is. Because we're talking about picking up players. So at that point, you potentially may have to get rid of a player for that person to come in. And I know that's the hard part of at what point do you know when to kind of, let someone go or drop a player to then exchange them?
I think it's for sure it's based on performance. That's a sure thing. But I think it's also based on relationship within the team. I think if someone is clashing with other players, the decision is easily made. It's also maybe the IGL, like the in-game leader. I've had this many times coming up to me like, yo, I have issues with this player, and then I have more players that have the same issue with the same player, and then the decisions are easily made. But if you really need to get rid of someone, I think it's based on tournament performance, consistency, those type of things. But it's not necessarily up to me as a manager. I think it's more up to a captain or a in-game leader, because they know most about the player.
Yeah, we really have to communicate with the captain. It's really a two-man job when managing a team there. The captain does a lot. We have to look at all the statistics for the player, and a big thing is the attitude of the player. If they can't work within the team, then they don't deserve to be in the team.
Yeah. Nothing left to say, really.
Okay, so it really comes down to mostly attitude, which makes sense, when it comes to, like, maybe they're not doing something right, or, maybe they're not able to get their crosshair, they're not getting as many kills performance-wise. That could be worked on. You can give them training regiments, or they could work on their crosshair placement or recoil control, or again, just learning maybe a map or the environment or how you guys do your plays. But if they're just being stinky, they're just being stinky, and you can't really work with them at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.